Say psych right now. 1.5 million people tuned in live to watch the Switch 2 Direct. And let me tell you, it's really good. Question mark. I would say it was a phenomenal Direct. We got so much amazing information about the next generation of Nintendo hardware, but there was one thing omitted from this presentation. One thing so critical to the success of the launch, that its omission has convinced me to take the following stance. The Direct was actually pretty bad. And I don't say such things lightly. This isn't rage bait, and it's not stretching the truth either. I'm a massive Nintendo apologist, so to take such a negative stance against Nintendo goes against the very fiber of my being. I was constructed a long time ago specifically to love Nintendo, and to support them unconditionally as a company. But what they did? Unforgivable. It's just too far. Now, what was that key omission? Well, you probably know already. It's the price. The prices are so unfortunate. My first impression was great. Everything about the Direct itself was great. Any expectations that I did have were exceeded by what was presented. They did not, however, talk about the price. They mentioned almost everything besides the price. It was only a few hours after the presentation when they decided to reveal the price, which leads me to believe that it was intentional deception. They concealed the price on purpose to deceive us. They hid this critical information. I once called Nintendo the masters of hype, and it's still true. They set the perfect hype trap, they did. Don't get me wrong, the quality of the products are impeccable. These things are great. These things are awesome. These games are just wonderful. I have no major complaints regarding what was shown. It's what wasn't shown that frustrates me. There's a lot to say about this Direct, and not all of it's good. To start out, we got our next Mario Kart game. Good start. By the way, I'm super glad they didn't name it Mario Kart 9 or 10. The numbers after the games these days are getting out of hand. It's time for the return of named entries. Second of all, the graphics are beautiful. Just look at these things. Even in the distance, there's no noticeable pop-in. I love it. Good job, Nintendo. This game completely flips the Mario Kart formula upside down. They just added so much crazy stuff. You can grind on rails, you can drive up walls and jump off of those walls, you can go off-road and over water, and you can fly, and you can drive anywhere you want. Never thought I'd see the day where open world Mario Kart was a thing, but here we are. We got a few new characters visible too, hidden in the background. The courses look amazing, grand in every single way, in both design and graphics. We talked about graphics before, now it's design. Look at these things. Chef's kiss. We also got some new and returning power-ups. A hamburger, which lets you change into cool costumes. Not sure what they do exactly. And there's the worm from Arrakis. There's Kamek flying around. Title drop. Mario Kart World. That is a very fitting name. I mean, you are in what I assume to be the Mushroom Kingdom and just the world around it, and you can go anywhere in that world. Good title. You get to drive between the courses during Grand Prix. Isn't that insane? A little something to tie together the Grand Prix. We've also got what looks like 16 cups. That's phenomenal. To put that in perspective, base Mario Kart 8 had 8. Base Deluxe had 12. Then they added 12 DLC cups over the course of 3 years, and they were all noticeably of lesser quality. Beginning with 16 is awesome, and that's just what we can see. Okay, actually, correction. We can only see 15 cups. But they didn't show special cups, so it's likely that you just have to unlock that first. There's no way they wouldn't include the special cup, right? There also seems to be some sort of elimination system, where if you don't place high enough, you aren't allowed to continue. We also have an open world mode that sounds useful for discovering shortcuts and just goofing around with friends in general. Now, all of that considered, what does Nintendo want to charge for this game? $80. Now let's give Nintendo some credit. This game is massive. Clearly a ton of effort went into this game. It's likely that they didn't have long to develop this game since Mario Kart Booster Course Pass only finished a few years ago. And there's also the option to purchase the bundle, which lowers the effective price to $50. That being said, in what scenario would $80 ever be acceptable? Nintendo was doing $60 with 170 last generation, and that 170 was the most massive game they've ever made, probably. This is Mario Kart. It may be the most massive, but if it is, you maybe moved your priorities into a weird spot. I thought Mario or Zelda would be the most massive. Although, considering how well Mario Kart usually sells, I guess it's a good idea to make this one your massive game, but also we don't know yet, because there could be other massive $80 games, and if $80 is a trend, that's just not good. Also, the bundle is limited as well. You can't just purchase that whenever. Eventually, that opportunity is going to go away, so if you don't jump on this right now, you're gonna have to pay $80 for it. No. Why is there a $30 difference anyway? Just to incentivize people to buy it? What? What? That's just dirty. That's cheap. Look, I get it. The scope of a game can incentivize companies to charge unusual prices to compensate for additional development costs, but that argument only works if the remakes, remasters, ports, and smaller games also cost less, but that's not the case most of the time. They charged $70 for Tears of the Kingdom back then, but things like Mario vs. Donkey Kong were still full price. Only Pikmin, Switch Sports, and Metroid Prime had altered prices that went lower, and also maybe a few others I'm forgetting. That was ridiculous then, and it's ridiculous now. Granted, not all games will be $80. Most other AAA games released by Nintendo are going to cost $70, which we'll talk about later. $80 only seems to be for the biggest, most massive, ultimate premium deluxe games, but where's the line that determines what the price of a game will be? The thing is, there is no line, and as far as we know, Nintendo will charge $60 at a minimum for the shoddiest of ports and won't go any lower than that. They might even do $70 for the ports, remakes, and remasters, and that's just not okay. I fully expected $70 for a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 games. That seems reasonable, but I expected a mix of 60 and 70 with some 50 and lower because A, we just moved up to 60 with Nintendo, we just moved up to 70 for the competition, maybe go a little bit slower. Not like this. What seems to be the case instead is that games will be a mix of 80 and 70, and maybe 60 and less. We don't know. And that would be fine if you strictly accounted for inflation, but only if it weren't so sudden. We've gone through 30 years in the past, rising from 40 to 50, and then 60 on Switch, and we're already at 80. There's a few things that could be going on. Nintendo could be doing the thing which the Sonic movie allegedly did, creating a lot of free marketing before eventually changing it to what they were actually going to do, but that seems very unlikely. More likely than that, they're serious about these prices. It could be for any number of reasons. Inflation, tariffs, increased production cost of games, all of the above. Either way, this can't stand. Also, yes, slightly less important and completely irrelevant and subjective. This artwork looks like AI. I'm sorry, it just does, okay? It reminds me a lot of AI. It probably wasn't, but it looks so AI. There is one more important thing to note on top of all this. More Mario Kart news will be available on April 17th. There will be a Mario Kart World Direct. That is their chance to justify their actions. Unless this thing has like a story mode and missions and all this crazy stuff and the roster was like doubled and there's even more cups and tracks and this thing is just the most magnificent game that any of us mere mortals would have ever seen, then I do not think that this is justified in the slightest. Elden Ring was $60. Who do you think you are, Nintendo? Who do you think you are? Until we find out what may or may not be so great about this game, express your fury! Nintendo probably only charged this much expecting it to be a bestseller, selling like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did, which would probably make them a ton of money. People will buy this game no matter what, they probably said to themselves. That's just a little underhanded, even for Nintendo. Of course, it's reasonable if the given quality of a game matches the price, but that would make it even more of a luxury item than it already is. By the way, a completely unrelated history lesson. Nintendo has consistently implemented price cuts for consoles which had trouble selling initially, even the good selling ones, but especially the bad selling ones. Remember when consoles went as low as $100 on sale? Remember when games went as low as $20 promotionally? And that wasn't too long ago either. That was the Wii and GameCube generations, and even a little bit of the Wii U generation. We as consumers have the power to influence these companies. It's time to take a stand against this. Not only against the companies, but also against the governments who are responsible for managing inflation. But so far we've just learned about the games. What about the console itself? Turns out the top USB port on the Switch 2 was also for a camera actually. I mean, also for charging. It's not included in the Switch box, thankfully, but as you'll soon see, that did not save the price. The Nintendo Switch 2 is launching on June 5th with Mario Kart World Day and Day. That's pretty soon, just 2 more months to go. We got some new game cards as well. They're red and high speed, as well as some new high speed micro SD express cards. The internal storage is also 256 gigabytes. I mean, not bad for Nintendo, it's only the bare minimum. We also got the Switch 2 Pro controller with buttons on the back and an audio jack. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but now the price has gone from $70 for a Pro controller to $80. And from $80 to $90 for a pair of Joy-Cons. The price of the console itself? $450. Once again, it's just barely, very slightly reasonable, very slightly acceptable. I mean, this thing is still pretty powerful, as we'll soon see, especially for being a hybrid console. They're just pushing it enough to where people think it's okay, but it's not. The $500 price tag actually comes from a bundle with Mario Kart and the Switch. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were gonna sell you the bundle. They're pushing units. That's what they're all about. It's manipulative. I feel manipulated. This is not good. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Legends ZA, and Kirby and the Forgotten Lands will all receive Switch 2 versions with enhanced graphics as well. This is all excellent. I mean, I didn't think Nintendo would do that. You can also just take your Switch 1 game, put it in there, and then get the upgrade pack, which lets you just not have to buy a whole new game again. But of course, it comes with a fee. We currently don't know how expensive these upgrade packs will be, but people guess anywhere from $10 to $40. If it is in fact even $1 more than 10, unacceptable! I gotta say, these graphics look significantly better on the Switch 2 version. We then get the ultimate surprise. Nintendo is finally appealing to third parties. That's right, the console is powerful enough to warrant third parties to make games for it. The Switch 2 can output 4K and 120 frames per second while in the dock, which allows it to run the likes of Elden Ring, Hades 2 is here, Street Fighter 6, Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion, Split Fiction, several EA games, Hogwarts Legacy, but not as a potato, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, Hitman World of Assassination, we got a Project 007 game on the way, Bravely Default is getting a port from the 3DS, and Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. My dream come true as a Nintendo fan is to be able to enjoy these games on Nintendo hardware. And hey, they look great. If only I could afford them. Yeah, back to negative, unfortunately. I'm trying not to be so negative, but the reveal of the price after the fact has tainted my opinion of this Direct. It's tainted my opinion of the console and the company as a whole. In retrospect, this isn't as exciting knowing how expensive it's going to be when I go in to buy it, if I decide to. We got a new Hyrule Warriors game, Hyrule Warriors Imprisonment, to be released this holiday season. I hope we get some more information about the other sages because, hey, they were really flat and boring in Tears of the Kingdom. Oh, also, remember Switch Online? Well, GameCube on Switch Online. Yeah. Now I can finally justify getting the expansion pass over the base subscription as long as they don't change the prices. I'm so serious, Nintendo. Do not change the prices. It's the same service as it was before, you just have GameCube on it now. So that means there's no reason to increase the base subscription and no reason to increase the expansion pack because it was already overpriced. Consider Xbox Game Pass and remember your place in the online sphere. You will never beat Game Pass. At the outset of the Nintendo Switch Online, we'll get The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. It's not Wind Waker HD, but it'll do the job, I guess. Soul Calibur 2, Link is in it, and F-Zero GX, the greatest racing game of all time. On the way are also Super Mario Sunshine, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, Super Mario Strikers, Chibi Robo, Luigi's Mansion, and Pokemon Colosseum. Just a bunch of super good and really inaccessible games made available for a new generation of Nintendo fans. F-Zero GX is also getting local and online multiplayer. This is huge progress for making the service a little bit more worthwhile. And hey, they could always make Smash Melee and Mario Kart Double Dash available online. Same as all those old GameCube Mario parties, 4 through 7 I believe. However, they did not move GBA down to the base subscription. It's basically an SNES, so why is it in the expansion pass exactly? They also did not add Nintendo DS to Switch Online, which I was sure they were gonna do. What the heck, Nintendo? Do the screen on the top USB thing. That would let people play the games uncompromised since they would have a second screen. You're already selling controllers for each of the Switch Online consoles, so I feel like this wouldn't be very far off just selling the top of a DS. Just boop, and then game DS play. The Wii would also be a nice addition since it's basically just a GameCube Plus. Oh, and guess what? That rumor about Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 being announced? Correct? Oh, another rapid fire third-party section. Let's go. We got Borderlands 4, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, WWE and NBA 2K, Survival Kids. Side note, the stream glitched out in a major way for about 2 minutes around this point. Enter the Gungeon 2, Starseeker Astroneer Expeditions, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Lightning Round! Faster! Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, Hollow Knight Silk Song, Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, Goodnight Universe, 2 Point Museum, Wild Hearts S, Witchbrook, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, Marvel Comics Invasion, and Star Wars Outlaws. Wow, that was a lot of quality content. Wait, hold on. Did you just say Silksong? What? They did! They just skipped over Silksong like it was nothing! What the heck? We got like 7 seconds of footage there. What? It's been years since we've got Silksong news though, so, everyone lost their mind, of course. Silksong does exist. Oh wait, actually, more games apparently, so back to it. Nobunaga's Ambition, Fast Fusion, Shadow Labyrinth, Rado Remastered The Mystery of the Soul's Army, No Sleep for Kaname Date, Reanimal, Fortnite, Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer, Professor Layton in the New World of Steam, Tomodachi Plaza, and Human Fall Flat 2. Nintendo, stop. What are you doing? You can't just keep skipping over these huge things. Professor Layton? That was like one of your staple handheld franchises, and they haven't released a game in years. It has been so long since we got news about this game, and you're just like, oh, here's a few seconds of it, I hope that helps. What? Nintendo, you can't be doing this. You can't be doing this. Bombshell announcement incoming. Yeah, we're on the positive train. We've been doing a lot of good so far. From Software, the developers of Elden Ring are making an exclusive game for Switch 2. It's called Duskbloods, and I spent way too long thinking it was Devil May Cry. From Software didn't even make those games. This is why you don't wake up at 4 AM to watch Nintendo stuff. Regardless of my groggy stupidity, this game looks phenomenal. I don't think Switch 2 looks quite as glorious as PS5 or Xbox Series X, but it's really close in terms of total polish. By the way, Masahiro Sakurai has been working on something. I thought it was a new Smash Bros, but it was even more baffling than that. Masahiro Sakurai got to make the game that he wanted to. Kirby Air Riders, the sequel to Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube. After all this time, an unexpected revival of a 20-year-old dead franchise makes me hopeful for other franchises as well, like Star Fox, Kid Icarus, and F-Zero. And even though I'm confused why Nintendo always releases their racing games so close to each other, seriously, Double Dash, Kirby Air Ride, and F-Zero GX came out in the same year. Now we got Kirby Air Riders and Mario Kart World coming out in the same year. I'm nevertheless glad we're getting it sometime this year. I just hope this one is $60. Oh, what? Is that not reasonable? Oh, well, I'm so sorry that I don't want to spend $1 million on video games. I think $60 would be pretty reasonable. 70 is in fact pushing it, unless it's as groundbreaking as the other Mario Kart, even though it probably won't be. I know Masahiro Sakurai makes great games, and I know it will probably be very polished and high quality, but it's Kirby Air Ride. It's not Mario Kart, it's not open world Mario Kart. If it's open world Kirby Air Ride, 70, sure, I guess. But if it's just Kirby Air Ride, 60. Dude, there is a big difference between those two. Even though I love them both, I would love to have them. I just don't want to spend so much money. And now our final announcement. 3D Donkey Kong. Ooh, another franchise brought back from the dead. Donkey Kong Bonanza, the long-awaited return of the Donkey Kong franchise, and not just any Donkey Kong platformer. It's a 3D open world platformer. Wow! That's pretty good. The world is destructible. The animation is super expressive. I honestly love it. This was one of those things that a lot of people did not like. They didn't like the design change that was revealed way back in January of Donkey Kong, but this guy is just so lovable. Look at him. Dude, look at his face. It's so expressive. He's so happy. He's so sad. He's so in love with bananas. You can feel it. Not only that, but it's launching in a few months. Just 1 month after the Switch 2 launches. This game is coming out soonest out of all of the first-party Nintendo games revealed so far after launch. As such, we already have a price confirmed for it. It's $70. Okay, so this game obviously seems very high quality and massive in scope. And it's still not $80. That means two things. One, Mario Kart World is just on a whole other level in terms of scope, in order to charge more than even AAA games on PS5 and Xbox Series X. Two, Nintendo isn't just going around and charging $80 for a game willy-nilly. The Nintendo AAA is $70. The Colossal Titans are $80. If there are even multiple Colossal Titans, we don't know at this point. Mario could be, Zelda could be, but we don't know if they'll match the scale of this. We don't know if it will cross that line that makes Nintendo charge $80 for this. So this isn't something that they're doing lightly. Clearly, Mario Kart World was just the most massive undertaking that they've ever had. Otherwise, I don't think they would be doing this. I mean, just look at Donkey Kong. Bonanza is huge. It's very well polished. It's the new 3D platformer. I'm sure it won't replace 3D Mario, but it will at least supplement it for another few years, at most. I'm really hoping they don't wait that long for 3D Mario. And with these two games being the only ones that we have a price for, we don't know if they will go as low as $60 for some of the more niche titles. That being said, I'm still mad. $70? For sure. Sony and Microsoft have been doing that. But $80? That's crazy! The Switch 2 is less expensive than the competition, who are soon releasing their next-gen hardware, which will likely cost even more than even this, but it's all happening too fast. In addition, there are rumors that the physical versions of these games will cost up to $90. Given that the game cards are now high speed and would cost way more to manufacture, I can buy the idea that Nintendo would try something as foolish as this. But if they were going to try and separate the price of physical to digital games, which is something that they've never done before, they would need to do it the other way. They can't be doing it this way. It would be $70 or $80 for the physical version and $60 or $70 for the digital version. Not $80 or $90 for the physical version and $70 or $80 for the digital version? No! I already know the amount of hate that I'm going to get from Nintendo apologists for expressing my discontentedness. Believe me, I used to be one of those Nintendo apologists spreading the hate. I get the mindset of overwhelming optimism for what you love, being able to look past the flaws to enjoy what's there. That's what Nintendo fans are good at, since for so long, Nintendo's been flawed in that way. We developed it as a defense mechanism to protect our pride and Nintendo's honor, our decision to support this company mainly. I'm already in a debate with one of my friends in Discord. His mindset is so fixated on the positives he won't even acknowledge the downsides. Maybe that's because we are privileged. Maybe it's because we've been privileged this whole time thanks to Nintendo's business practices in the past, you know, with price cuts and whatnot. I mean, all of us are privileged. Privileged enough to care about whether or not it matters that Nintendo increased the prices enough to be dissatisfied. Logically, everything about the Direct itself was amazing, and Nintendo's price point is defensible in the sense that the current economic climate is in such a sorry state that they're allowed to force the problem onto the consumers. The consumers who have less money to spend on luxuries, which is worth less than it's ever been before, and to have said luxuries cost more than they ever did before. It hurts. It really does. It feels like a betrayal. These companies that we supported unconditionally, even though they really tripped up sometimes, and now after they got all the support that they could ever want, they're just gonna backstab us like this. On principle, each and every one of us should be opposed to this decision because the consumers shouldn't have to foot the bill for all the company and government decisions. I'm no political science student, but according to my research, in a capitalist society, the companies and governments are the ones responsible for the economy. And before you say anything about the people being responsible for supporting the companies and electing the governments, I'm 16. In a few days, I'll be 17. I can't vote, and I sure as heck can't run for public office. Nor can many of those in my generation. The control of these companies are vested in the older half of the population. I don't know how to fix the economy, and I definitely don't have the power to do it right now. Right now, the power is in the hands of the companies and the government. So, for the companies and governments to force the situation onto us, that's just wrong. I know you may be excited about the new Nintendo content, but for your sake and for the sake of everybody else, I suggest that you take a stand. It's been proven to work during the 3DS generation especially. Within 6 months, the price of the console dropped from $250 to $170. I suggest that you boycott Nintendo. You can wait. For most, it would be ideal to wait to the holiday season anyway as opposed to buying it on launch day. What with its launch day defects and early hardware malfunctions. It's just always good to wait a little bit. And especially now with what Nintendo's up to, in this scenario, especially if you're not a content creator who has to stay tuned in order to make a living, consider waiting until they eventually do make that long-awaited price cut. Trust me, you'll be fine. You have no shortage of entertainment, and you will not miss out. They're not just gonna stop making all this stuff because, oh, it didn't sell well. They'd sooner price cut than cease manufacturing. This console will be around for the next half decade at least. You will have the opportunity to buy it sooner or later. You will not miss out on anything. You've got loads of stuff to play on Switch as it is. You probably have a massive backlog that you have to work through. Consider giving your money to PlayStation or Xbox. You can usually find the standard models for $400 now, and they already have a massive library of games, and cheaper models too. Not only are their games $60 now thanks to discounts, but you can also wait until a sale, usually a few weeks or a few months, and get the game half off or even lower. The decision is clear. Nintendo wants to push boundaries, and I say we let them. Find out what happens when they make a blunder. Last time the mistake was being a Wii U. This time the mistake is the price. The Wii U failed for a variety of reasons, but not one of them was malicious. Is this new price malicious? It may be a bit extreme to say as much, but this time they had the ingredients for success, and we can see that in the Switch 2 Direct in isolation. The Switch 2 Direct itself, I'm gonna be real honest, I loved it. There are not words that can describe how perfect it was to me. The first few hours after the stream, I was in heaven. And then I found out what the prices they were charging were, and I hate it now. Not only do I hate it, but I think that in retrospect, it ruined the Direct. The Direct is no longer good considering what we have to deal with now. Practicing patience in our hour of darkness may prove to be the greatest virtue, but only if enough people decide to. Enough people to make an impact in the place where it matters most. Their bottom line. After all, these companies are already making massive profits, but they can't just take the profit and go. No, they have to build and build upon their profits. They already make such a massive profit from both software and hardware. They can stand to lower their prices a little bit. And make sure to do it all around. It's not just the consoles, it's not just the games, it's the controllers, the accessories, everything. It's not like they'd have to pay their employees less either. All that extra money they make goes straight to profit. It doesn't go to the workers, it goes to the big boss businessmen at the top. Fun fact, enough people a few years ago decided that Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons & Dragons were not doing good things business-wise, so they boycotted them, and they changed their policy. It has worked in the past, it can work in the future. Let's make it real. Hashtag boycott Nintendo. And before you go and try to defend Nintendo, please don't. I'm very sensitive and words will physically hurt me. Or maybe do. Engagement fuels me. With pain. Oh, thank you for listening to the rant of the century. Please consider subscribing and sharing this video to help spread the word. Do it to all your Discords and group chats, even if they're mean. It would make the price cuts that much more real. I can almost taste it. It tastes like an extra week of groceries. Stay tuned for the Mario Kart World Direct, why time zones make no sense, and some other stuff that I haven't decided yet. Thanks. Bye-bye.